All right, my name is ShawNshawN. I do art on ShawNshawN.co and specials on eBay. Today we're going to review Happy Death Day to You. So if you don't know, this is the second out of two movies. So the first movie, Tree, this girl ends up getting killed over and over again by a murderer in this crazy pig mask. And she has to kind of resolve the mystery, and she does, and finally breaks this curse. So in the second one, Ryan, one of the science students that's one of the roommates of her boyfriend in the end of the first one, he's running this time experiment machine. And that kind of unreels why the first time loop happened, and then this goes in the second one. So it wasn't a sense of fate, it was actually a time machine mistake, which that makes sense, I think, which is a nice explanation to the whole thing. And then Ryan ended up getting killed. And then he's in a time loop, comes back, and then he faces off his own person who tries to kill him off. And you're like, why is there two Ryans? And it turns out there's two dimensions combining. So they do the time machine on, they flip the switch, but unfortunately they go back to the first time loop. But the first time loop has some changes, so there's not quite the same dimensions. So Tree's thrown back into her old life from the first movie, but there's been some changes. The people that are having affairs are different. Her boyfriend isn't her boyfriend. The relationship with her roommate is different. So there's a lot of subtle changes here, which is kind of a nice way to do it. And then she kind of has to solve the mystery, get back to the right time. That's basically the movie, right? But this time she has to choose whether she wants to stay here with her mother or go back with her boyfriend. So, my mother's terrible, so I would choose the boyfriend. But if I had to choose my dad over not having a girlfriend, that'd be a hard choice, right? You could always find someone else, but I don't know. I like my wife, so I guess I made the right choice, right? So to say. So story-wise, I kind of, like at the beginning of the film, they have this flip where Ryan is in a time loop, and I kind of like that idea of doing the whole movie from Ryan's perspective, but instead they flip it back to Tree's life. I would have liked to gone down Ryan's focus. It would have been more interesting as far as you take another character and then they're the main character, right? So here they kind of stick back with the girl as the main character, which I guess makes sense, but it would have been interesting to have the guy being chased, and maybe it turns out some women killers, who knows what. Acting wise, I think it's a good one-time film, like any horror film. A lot of horror films are good more than once. I mean, maybe The Shining, you can watch it several times because there's a lot of subtlety, symbolism there that you can kind of unravel as you go through it. I don't think there's much symbolism in this movie. There's a lot of stereotypes, like Indian kids, clean-cut Indian kids as science majors, Asian kids with kind of the manga haircut as science majors. Dumb blondes, dumb brunette girls. So a lot of stereotypes there, like the girls aren't that smart, they're dependent on their boyfriend kind of thing. You're just like, that's pretty bad. There's also a dumb brunette playing a dumb French girl, so that's a pretty bad stereotype as well. So it's interesting because in our PC culture, it's okay to make fun of the French, but not okay to make fun of Indians. You're like, are Chinese right? Go figure. I guess there's more trade with India and China nowadays. Who knows? The audience, it's more, teenagers, young 20s probably to go see this. I like to see this kind of movie. It's just fun. But I think the major market's probably in your 20s, 30s, 20s, teens kind of movie, I definitely went to a lot of these when I was in high school, so I remember. So I don't think they're going to be turned off by the goofy stereotypes. It's just, you roll with it, it's a movie and it's just fun and goofy. Go there to make out with your girlfriend than anything, right? At least that's what I did in horror films in high school. Time loops is kind of interesting. They explain the first time loop with the second time loop, so that's interesting. And then you always have, Tree choosing whether to die each sequence because, she figured out everything but one thing's off, and she figured out this other thing but this other thing's off, and this thing's off. So it's always this frustration building up, and then she can only die so many times because she's getting weaker each time she returns. I like this concept a lot better than, say, Groundhog Day. I think Groundhog Day, I didn't even watch the whole thing. I just turned it off. It was so bad. So when you add some horror, some deaths, some fighting scenes, that makes the whole movie, right? So, and there's a mystery behind it, like why keep repeating the day and the frustration living day, but also murder. So that makes it a lot of fun. Way better than Groundhog Day. Even though this is based off of Groundhog, it's kind of Groundhog mixed with Scream. Some of the weaknesses of this film is similar to the same weaknesses in Back to the Future 2. You're kind of repeating a lot of the first film, and then you're just making some changes. So it becomes very overcomplicated. You have to remember what happened in the first movie, what happened in the second movie. It's not really necessary for this film since they kind of explain what the differences are. But yeah, it's just stronger to go back into an actual different time. Like if they had focused on Ryan being killed over and over, that might have been a stronger movie than flipping back to Tree and having her repeat the first movie. It's like Back to the Future 2. Back to the Future 3 was better because it was in the Old West. It was a completely different time period with two or three repeating characters, but in different circumstances, right? So I think if they had kind of flipped the switch and made it slightly different setting. Maybe their work jobs, and you know, maybe a couple years later they graduate and something like that. Maybe that would have made more sense in a stronger movie. But you never know. It's always fun to just see college and high school years repeat, right? Overall, I think it's a fun movie. Not much more to it than that. Yeah, I think I liked it. It's kind of it's an entertaining film. I wouldn't say it's view it more than once. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next movie review. Thanks, guys.